VLN layout of Nordschleife. Going to be an interesting one because we have a very short period of time to get used to the track. It's a 15-minute practice and a 20-minute qualifying on one of the longest tracks you'll ever find in any racing game, at least ones that are based off of real tracks. So that'll be interesting to say the least. I think it gives you very little time to get a lap time in. You're going to get maybe 2 cracks at it, and that's going to lead to a very interesting grid, and a grid that may not indicate overall pace. So what is the Raceapp Global Community Races? Well, we have a bunch of communities here today, including ESR, Zero Racing, and a number of others. I apologize for not having the list memorized that are participating, and you'll be able to tell which group they are based on the car they are driving. My name is Mike Magasevich. I am the head admin of the Zero Racing League and also possibly feature officer of ESR. We'll see how that goes. And I will be your commentator today, and this is my first gig as a live commentator of a race, so please bear with me if anything doesn't sound great. I'd also like to mention my roommate is moving stuff in the other side of the house. Hopefully we won't hear that. Maybe we will. We're following Martin Lauer as he's the first man to try to take to the track in practice here, and like I said, this is a very long track, and you're dealing with a very short session time, so you're not going to get a lot of time to warm up, not going to get a lot of time to really go hard for it, and we are allowing that sanctioned shortcut right there to facilitate more time. And yeah, that's about all I have for right now, so we'll see how this shakes up. We have 7 cars in the server right now. We're expecting much more than that. I think we're expecting north of 20, but we'll see how that goes. And another one has just joined. We've been just joined by Thomas Posh, and I do apologize for any potential butchering of names as I go through this because it may happen. I've never been particularly outstanding when it comes to names. I'll be off comms for a moment as there's not a ton to discuss right now. We are now featuring 21 cars on the grid, and I will let you have a look at all of the different ones. We have Leon Becker driving a very stylish car. This is the Recaro car, the number 111, and I don't honestly recall what series that represents. I do apologize. I wish I had pulled that out, and in fact I will now. We should have a list of that on Discord. So here we are. Anyways, the 109 car is the representatives of Zero Racing. We have Martin Lauer, who will undoubtedly be one of the main candidates to run near the front for them. We also have ESR, which is running the 115 car. We will also have the OVRC running the 110 car. Then we have RLM, which I believe is Redline Motorsports, running the 107 car. We also have the RRVGT guys. They're running the 111 car. Not sure whose this is here right now. This is the 115. So that would be, I want to say ESR 115. I'm correct on that. There's the ESR car right there. The 115 cars will be representing them in the red and white. This one driven by Czech driver Jan Ruska. Heading around the track here. Coming up behind one of the Zero cars. That'll be, I guess, the one downside of having sort of the teammate idea of everyone running the same kind of cars. Not necessarily going to know by sight who they're coming up to, just who that they represent. And Ruska is on a actual timed lap. It'll be interesting to see if someone can get a time lap in before the end of practice session, so we have some idea of pace going into qualifying, but we don't necessarily have that right now. Still running around is Jan Ruska. We'll see if he can get a time in. He seems to be the closest one to putting up a time, so we're going to stick with him because I'm very intrigued to know what the pace will be here in these Audi TT RS cars. Having not done them on this track, I don't really know what a solid lap time is. So it'll be very interesting to see what they can do. Because again, time is of the essence. You have a 15-minute practice, you have a 20-minute qualifying. That puts it very little time to get a good lap in and forces you to definitely be on your game and not cut the track, not invalidate your lap at any point. He's in the third sector. Hopefully he can get the lap done in the remaining 4 minutes of the session, because we still don't have a lap time up. We still don't know what the cars are capable of doing. These are beautiful cars. I love the Audi TT RSs. If you have not tried these cars out in Race Room, you are missing something. They are a spectacular car to drive. Also, very interesting skins, very interesting stuff that they've got. The liveries are all very unique and different and stand out and really pop off the screen, which you will see during the course of this race, I think. The race will be a full 1 hour race, so this will test your endurance as a driver and probably require a pit stop. We are running 2 times fuel and 1 times tire wear, if I recall correctly. It might be 3 times fuel. I'm not entirely sure. And of course, you got to time it right, because with a really, really long lap, it's going to really hurt you if you miss that pit lane, if you forget that you need to pit. And Ruska might be held up here by the Zero car, which seems to be having a little bit of struggle staying on the track. Maybe a little bit unfamiliar with. Nords is, like I said, an incredibly challenging track. It's an amazingly difficult one to master, and is, even for top-level drivers, Formula 1 drivers, top-level GT drivers, endurance car drivers, touring car drivers, it's exceedingly difficult, and there's a reason that there are so many specialists at this track. People who really come into a series and only race this track because that's how you get familiar with it. Sabine Schmidt comes specifically to mind as a great real-life example of that. And I'm hoping the Zero car gets out of the way here, because we do want to see what Ruska can do in terms of a lap time. He's only got 2 minutes left to finish the lap. I think he can do it, but he does probably need to get around the Zero car up ahead of him in order to really be permitted to figure it out. I'll see if I can identify who the Zero driver is in this particular shot. Possibly Martin Lauer or Wesley Stokes, but we'll have a look. We are now up to 25 cars, by the way, and hopefully the grid will grow from that. I'm noticing we're missing a couple of faces from Zero specifically, and there's the headlight flash from Ruska. He wants past, and it looks like he might be being allowed past. Going down the inside, heading along the straightaway. Can he get a lap time in? Something at least to ballpark us on where we're going to be in this race and in qualifying. Like I said, I think the grid is going to be important but not representative, if that makes any sense, because I think the import is going to be if you can get a good grid position and you are one of the fastest cars on the track. I think it can let you get away and kind of run on ahead and really set the tone. But I think that there's no guarantee that the fastest cars are going to get those top-end grid positions, so that could lead to some battles further down on the track. Here he comes across the line. Ruska puts up a 8:43.90 or 9:34. That is pole position. See Martin Lauer coming around now, so it was Wesley Stokes who I believe was in the way there. Martin Lauer is running about 8 seconds off of that. He's not going to be able to finish this lap time to put it up, which seems a lot worse until you realize this is a very long track and a very difficult one. I think the gap from first to last is going to be huge. I mean, we're talking about an 8 to almost 9 minute lap that is, in some cases, 8 times the general lap time in a lot of different tracks. Welcome to qualifying, and we're early on riding with Molt Schneider. That is the 111 car. I'm not sure who that represents. I will at some point get the hang of that. This is RRV GT Racing. Molt Schneider racing for them. They're the ones with the Recaro car, the number 111 car. Very nice car. I like it. Very cool. And very different from what everything else we got going on here, which is good. But as we get to qualifying here, I'm just going to kind of run through the cars and we can run it through. As stated, we saw what the Zero cars look like. There's Wesley Stokes representing Zero Racing. There is Jan Ruska, the only guy who got a lap in practice. He is representing ESR. And we are also going to have drivers driving the 107 car like Jake Sorak here. They represent Redline, RLM, the racing group. So get ready for them as well. I will see if that is it. We got ESR, we got Zero, we got RRVGT. I'm just going to call them RRV if that's okay, just to shorten that up. I believe that is everybody, actually. So those are the 4 groups that we have represented here today. Zero, ESR, RLM, and RRV are the guys on track today. We'll see. We'll let the auto director kind of do its things here for a moment as we go through who might be doing something. Jake Sorak here leading some of the RLM guys. I like that they threw their name in there for the ease of commentary. It's very much appreciated. But I think I have the handle on it now. Here's Jan Ruska. He was again the only guy to get a lap in during practice, and that is a good sign for him. I think it means that he's got the ability to bring it home, to stay on track and do the things that need to be done over the course of this race and possibly put up consistent lap times, possibly get a good lap time in for qualifying purposes as well, starting to the front of the pack. He's leading a group of ESR racers here. It looks like 3 of them in a row. I believe, I cannot tell you who the other ones are off the top of my head because there are multiple ESRs on the track. Most cars are on the track right now. There are only 2 cars sitting in the pit lane who have not joined the track. Martin Lauer for Zero Racing is on a timed lap as well. Here he goes. Again, it's going to be very difficult. We saw that it takes almost 9 minutes to get around this track. That means you're only going to get 1 to 2 chances, I think, to put up a lap time. And we are using the shortcut here through the pit lane. Yeah, and Ruska back on our screens now, trying to get around. I'm not sure if that is in the 110. That is Victor Berlin, and that car, which I did not see on the entry list, represents, that's the 110 car. That would be OVR, which is slated to only have 2 participants today. Victor Berlin and Sebastian Brunner will represent that particular team. So that's another team to remember and handle. We'll ride with Martin Lauer here for a little bit. Lauer is currently on a timed lap. He's only in the first sector. Again, I think just getting a timed lap at this track, I think, is going to be a massive, big deal. Because, like I said, I think a large portion of the grid may not be able to put a time up in the 20 minutes that they have here in qualifying. And I'm not quite entirely certain if anyone else is currently on a timed lap to speak of, is the problem. So we'll ride with Martin because we do know that he is doing a timed lap. Zero Racing has Martin Lauer on the grid as well as Wesley Stokes, just a 2-man showing for the Zero team. A couple of teams are much larger than them. We have, of course, ESR, Redline, and RRV are the 3 big ones, with OVR and Zero being the smaller teams, Lauer and Stokes for Zero, and right now just Victor Berlin for OVR. Oh, no, there is a second one. I believe that Sebastian Brunner has indeed joined, but there were more signed up for Zero, so a bit of a weak showing from the Zero crew to only get 2 cars on the track right now, but perhaps there will be some late joiners. They will have till the end of qualifying to get in. We have 25 cars on the grid. It should be a hell of a race. Lauer has completed Sector 1 in a time of 2:51.27. I don't know how that can related to Jan Ruska's time in practice, which again is the only benchmark that we have to work on here, to go by, but we will see if that can be beaten here by Martin Lauer, if he's a contender for pole position, or if he's going to be mid-pack to the rear of the pack. We don't really know, and again, I said I don't know how important, I think the importance of qualifying is very high. I just don't necessarily think that there's going to be a tremendous level of relevance to where people start. I think you could see a winner from back at 21st on the grid. I think you could see a pole sitter have problems because this is a demanding track. There's going to be a lot of mistakes. You can look at it. The elevation changes, the sweeping turns of this track, the different looks that it gives you. This is truly the track. Like, if there was one track in the world that challenges drivers like no other, it is probably the Nordschleife. We are using the VLN layout for this race, and like we said, we're looking at probably an 8.5 minute to 9 minute lap time for these cars. You can see Lauer making those tires work, making them squeal just a little bit. Let's ride on board with Mr. Lauer here. We are in the cockpit of Martin Lauer's Audi RRTS. Again, a fantastic car. TTRS, pardon me. The upjump version of the Audi TT cars that people are familiar with. The Audi TT is also fun with the push-to-pass dynamic, which is lacking in the RS models. He's completed Sector 2 on a 4 minute 39 4:59. Pretty respectable, I think. I think he's got a good lap going here, but again, we don't yet have that ballpark of where the pace is for the grid. There's still plenty of time. There's 12 minutes, a little under 12 minutes to go. There is enough time to get your laps in, but this is an extremely difficult track to get a representative time on. And like I said, that's the import of qualifying versus the possible lack of relevance that it has to how the race is going to go. But there are some reasonable passing opportunities here as well, but there's also some passing opportunities that are going to convince you that they're there that are maybe not there at the Nordschleife and could lead to a lot of mistakes. Of course, one of the interesting features of this circuit is the graffiti that you see on the ground. This track is open to the public most of the year, and that leads to a great deal of character that you don't get on most modern circuits, or indeed even circuits that are contemporaries of the Nordschleife. Those who are not aware, the Nordschleife is in Germany and is considered probably Germany's finest track. Granted, they also have Hockenheim, which is fantastic, and I think Germany is probably the home to the most world-class circuits in the world. They, of course, have German Formula 3 and obviously the DTM Championship that really give a lot of exposure to some secondary tracks that other countries that are more reliant on, quote, world championships to bring their prestige, their fame, things like Formula 1, World Touring Cars, Le Mans, WEC, that kind of thing. Don't necessarily have the quantity that Germany does, but Germany truly one of the, maybe along with England and the United States, kind of like the trifecta, maybe Japan, of motorsports royalty, as it were, and the development of various different racetracks that bring a lot of different cars to the countries to compete and make it a destination spot for drivers. We have a lap time up, actually. We have a lap time up. Pole position has just been put up at 8 minutes, 24 seconds, 6:69. Martin Lauer's got a pretty good lap here. You see he's only 0.6 off of that pole position. So he could be top 10, top 5 even, if he can keep this pace up. And the pole position going to Malte Schneider, representing, that's the, I've already forgotten it. I think it's RRV is the race league that he is representing here today, and all race leagues had up to 6 to 8 spots that they could claim. Not all of them have gone full out. We have 25 cars on the grid, as you can see, so I mean, it could have been a lot better. We also have a time up now from Tex Rex, who's from RLM, and another time from RLM as well. A number of RLM cars have come across the line, as well as another one from RRV, which is Thomas Nusse. He has moved up into second place, and then it's third, fourth, and fifth for the RLM crew. Wesley Stokes has come through in fifth place for Zero Racing. We also have Grant Patolo for ESR in the mix as well. We're looking at Martin Lauer, who's looking to come across the line. I believe he's going to be the next one. He was 4.7 down at the end of Sector 2, which could put him on the front row. You can see the gap there between first and second is 6.7 seconds. He's now in the stadium section, which marks near the end of this racetrack. Malte Schneider's been demoted a spot, and Martin Lauer comes across the line in third place for 0. So there we go. Let us ride with. Let us just have a look at the pole sitter. It is Thomas Pash of Finland representing the OVR, not the OVR. It will start to hit me eventually. OVR is not them, but RRV is the team I'm looking at. They are currently fairly dominant at the top of the standings, holding down the front row spots, followed by 0 Martin Lauer, and then another one of their cars in Nor. And rounding out the top 5, it is ESR's Gerardo Del Valle. I want to get a look at perhaps Sebastian Brunier, who is currently on a lap time as well. He is currently 7.1 off of pole. That could be a top 3 time, maybe even maybe a top 5 time, but he's going to have to put together a pretty solid third sector if he wants to be challenging for that. But you can see what I mean by the gap. We're talking a gap of the top 10 is 26 seconds. So considerable differences in lap times here. And of course, a number of cars that don't have a lap time going. So if you're not on, and if those cars are not on a time lap right now, they will not have time to finish a lap to start a new one, because of course we're looking at pole position of 8 minutes 16 seconds right now, and the pole has gone to another driver. It has changed hands once again. It is Patrick Posch. Do we have multiple Patrick Posches on the grid? I think we do. Interestingly enough, it appears he's in first and second place. No, it's Patrick Posch and Thomas Posch. Okay, that would explain it. Again, a so far very dominant display by the RRV crew, who occupy the top 4 spots right now on the grid. The top other car is Martin Lauer for 0 Racing. And then also we have the top RLM car, I believe, is in 11th place. 11th place is the top RM car. That's Tex Rex. And dropped to 12th just now. And we do not yet have a lap time from the OVR crew, which is why we were racing with Sebastian Brunier. Let us go back to him. He was 7.1 down after the second sector, so if he can put a good tight lap here, I think it's definitely a top 10 lap he's got going here. Maybe even top 5. 5th place is 8.7 off of pole, so if he could avoid just losing 1.6 seconds, I mean, in this third sector, I think he could make a run for the top 5, which would be a big deal for, you know, a league that is limited in representation here, because it's just him and Victor Berlin, or Victor Berlin of Sweden is the other car, and he has yet to put up a lap time as well. Definitely, of course, as we said, it looks like a pretty dominant display, though, from the RRV crew, who occupy the top 4 spots along with 6th and 7th place. Then it's a couple of ESR guys to round off the top 10. We will see again if Sebastian Brunier can get into that top 10. We are running low on time. It is just a little under 5 minutes now. Anyone who is not on a timed lap right now will not post a lap time. There is at least one RLM car that is in the pits and will not post a lap time, because they are not on time lap right now. They will not have the time. They will start below the top 15 and probably lower than that, because there, I think, are a couple of cars that have to be close to putting up that lap time. And again, you have to ask the question, you know, how relative are these times in actual performance in the race? Because we are dealing with, again, a very difficult, you're basically putting in almost banker laps early on due to the lack of ability to put up what I would consider to be a serious time here, or a perfect lap, as it were, that some people go after. You can see, of course, Jan Ruska down in 11th place. He was, I think, a fair bit faster than that in practice, was the only guy to put up a lap time, and is down in 11th place right now. So Sebastian Brunier coming around the final marks here. What can he do? He's not going to be able to take pole, but could he be a top 10 guy here today at the Nordschleife? And the answer is yes! He just gets into the top 10, displacing Grant Patolo of ESR. So OVR has a guy in the top 10. Let's have a look at some of the guys who have yet to put up a lap time. We have Thomas Binder, who's coming across the line, but there is smoke billowing out of the back of his car. What has he done to the car? He is not going to be able, unless he can just cruise over. No, he's given up on trying to put the lap time up. We also have Simon Nasho. He is in 18th place currently, representing ESR, and he is looking to put up a lap time. Should have the time to do it, I would think, unless he's put up a time. Like, we're looking at probably, he's 10 seconds off right now. That's not out of the picture for a top 10 qualifying position. Lap time has just been posted in the top 10. I am not going to even try to say that name. My apologies to the Albanian driver who is currently holding down 10th place. Simeon Nasho is coming around the final bit. He's into the stadium section. He will be able to get a lap time in before the end of the session. Where does it put him? And the answer is 14th position. Pretty solid work from him. We now have 18 drivers who have posted a lap time. There are 7 that have not, and I believe there are 4 cars that may be able to. They are Darcy Parkinson, who is currently, we'll stick with him actually. The other ones are Victor Berlin, Marco de Meno, and Alan Redline Motorsports. Is the other car on track who may be able to put up a qualifying time here. But there are definitely a couple of cars that will go wanting here today as far as the race is concerned. There will at least the 3 cars that are not going to be able to post a lap time. We will see here. Darcy Parkinson coming around. He is only 6.7 off at the end of the second sector. You got to think that this is another potential top 10 starter here. ESR currently lacking any top 10 starters, so that would be a big deal. Right now, again, the top 4 all representing RRV with Zero Racing's Martin Lauer in 5th place. He is the last of that and the only one not from the RRV, which has been the pretty dominant community here so far today. Darcy Parkinson coming across the line. Can he turn ESR's hopes around? No, not a very good third sector. He comes in 10th place, though, still managing to nudge in there. We have maybe 3 more drivers who might be able to time in, and it's Victor Berlin is the one we're going to ride with right now. He's representing the OVR. I love that 110 car, by the way. Oh! Off the track he goes. He's already got some damage on the side if you look at it closely. Wasn't terribly bad through the second sector, though. 9 seconds off. I mean, that's again, a possible top 15 time. I mean, one would think he's not going to lose like 10 seconds, but he's definitely hit something, and we just saw him go off track. I don't think he's going to have the time to finish it. There's only 25 seconds left. Let's pick up the other guys. We have Marco Dimeno. I don't think the RML guy are going to pick up a lap time off that, nor is Alan Redline Motorsports. I don't think. I just don't think that they have the time. We just did get a time from Jake Sorak coming into... or did we? Yes, we did. Jake Sorak picking up 19th position. So 19 cars got lap times in. 6 of them didn't. I think the closest to maybe being able to do it was that man, Victor Berline. And we are headed to the race. It is a 1-hour race. This will be a fantastic display of driving talent and endurance. And like I said, look at the RRV cars there. They are not all necessarily on the grid, but you can see 1, 2, 3, and there's going to be a 4th one there as well. Martin Lauer was knocked out of the top 5 there at the end. Top 5 cars, I think, are all from RRV. There is a 0 car in 6th place. He is the top man not on that grid. You can see further back the red line cars. You can see a pack of ESR cars kind of in the middle. They're kind of holding down from about 7th back. For a ways, RML is down there. There's another 0 car, and of course there's the OVR cars near the back. I don't believe one did not get a lap time in. That was Victor Berlin. The other one, Sebastian Brunier, did. But you can see it should be a powerful pack of RRV cars, which are dominating with 6 cars in the top 7. Fantastic job by the RRV crew. We are headed to the beginning of the race here with We are starting off the grid, and here we go. And of course, we're going to get a little bit of lag at the start because that's a lot of cars to process. And looks like the RRV guys have gotten off the line clean. They're in the top 5 positions. Martin Lauer, and then it's another one. And Sebastian Brunier got a heck of a start, actually. I think, if I recall correctly, he qualified down in about 16th position. He's up to 9th place. I believe he claimed 7 spots off the start there. Fantastic job for the ORV guy. He's now up in 8th place, actually. So he is live. He is looking to charge through the grid. But at the front, it's RRV. Top 5 cars. Martin Lauer there in the 0 car is in 6th position. He is the top man, not from RRV. You can see Brunier there in the background in the blue and white car. ESR is kind of dominating the kind of like below Brunier there. You can see a whole track of them. There's a couple of RLM cars in the middle there too as well. The bad at the back is Alan Redline Motorsport. He is bringing up the back right now. Hopefully he will be able to charge forward throughout the course of this race. We ride on board with one of the Page brothers, cousins, perhaps. I don't know. They are running 1-2 though. That's Thomas Page taking 2nd place. He is running behind Patrick Page at the front, and then it's Malte Schneider in 3rd place, all representing RRV. Martin Lauer is now in 5th place, so he has overtaken Thomas Newsham. So there is some progress against this RRV juggernaut right now, but they are very strong here today. Everyone's quite close together. In fact, the grid is separated by just about 16 seconds, so close for the time being. 25 cars on the grid. It's an amazing sight right now. The race continues here, and it is still pretty dominant. At the front of the pack, the Paces are making a getaway. Someone please tell me if they're brothers or something. Oh! Off the track goes News. I will at some point get people's names, I promise. But yeah, early on, it's Thomas Newsom, who's off the track and dropping out of the top 10 for now, but I believe he will make a comeback. Watch out for him. At the front, it is still very much dominated by the RRV crew. The Paces are up front, and there's a battle going on between Malte Schneider and Frank Schrey for 3rd position, with Martin Lauer of 0 in 4th place. Then it is Malte Rabe and Sebastian Brunier in 7th position, the top OVR car. This battle for 3rd place, I think, can get very, very messy. In the meantime, Thomas and Patrick Page are running away at the front of the pack. A little bit, not too much. I mean, they've only established a 3.5, but you can see it's growing. They're at a part of the track where they're going much faster. Keep in mind, there is a pit stop in this race. In the meantime, Alan Redline Motorsports is starting to climb through the grid. He's come from 25th, 22nd. By the way, still my man of the mid race, though, has to be Sebastian Brunier, who I believe started, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he started in about 16th position. He's up to 7th, having an absolutely fantastic early race, but there are 55 minutes to go. I am not willing to rule out any driver from picking up a race win here. That is the length of this race, and the amount of focus, determination, and endurance you're going to have to display to be the one who takes this overall. We ride on board with Martin Lauer. He's looking to make a move on Schrey for 4th place. 0 versus RRV. Martin Lauer still in the mix there. You can see he's very much in an RRV sandwich. And further back, it is Brunier, then a couple of members of the ESR crew, including Darcy Parkinson in 9th place and Grant Patolo in 10th place. I do know them. I've raced against them personally. Good luck, gentlemen. The battle continues on here. It's actually a fight between the two Pashas at the front. You got to wonder if maybe they just want to run away with it. I know I kind of would. I would kind of want to tuck into the slipstream and just go for it to take a big lead, because there is a huge pack of cars coming in behind them that want to swallow them up. And in the meantime, Wesley Stokes starting to make some moves. He was in last place. He is now up to 23rd position in the second Zero car. Looking at some of the other ones, I'm keeping a particular eye on the Zero and the OVR guys, because there's not too many of them in the pack. Victor Berlin is up to 18th position in the second OVR car. His teammate, of course, Sebastian Brunier, has, however, lost a spot and dropped down to 8th place, having lost 7th to Travis Wallace, who is the top ESR driver at the moment. In fact, we ride on board with that is Thomas Nuse, who was up at the front and of course had an accident earlier on, dropped back to I believe about 12th or 13th position. He is in 11th place, trailing Grant Patolo of ESR. He is the man kind of out of grips with not the only one from RRV who's not near the front. Thomas Binder is back in 18th position. He is the lowest ranked of the RRV guys, who are certainly showing here very, very well. Congratulations, gentlemen. Of course, proponents of German flags amongst them suggests this is a track that means a lot to them. Grant Patolo is still battling hard with Thomas Nuse for 10th place. Up ahead of them is Darcy Parkinson. Actually, we are now riding on the fight. We are back with Nuse, actually, as he continues to battle with Patolo for 10th place. Parkinson's up ahead along with Brunier, Wallace, and then it's Rade, Lauer, Schrey, Schneider, and then the two Paches up at the front. Ride on board at the front of the pack. It's Germany's Patrick Pache and Finland's Thomas Pache battling for the top spots at the moment. Behind them are their teammates Schneider and Schrey, the top four, all representing RRV, and riding now with Thomas Nuse, who's still trying to get himself back into the top 10 after his earlier issues. By the way, continuing on our watch further down the grid, no one particularly making a big run. I want to know who's the top RLM car right now. That is Tex Rex in 15th place there, the Bosnian driver, holding the fort for RLM right now. It's Pache on Pache at the top of the pack, though. It is Patrick leading Thomas, although you feel like Thomas is the faster of the two. He's been right on his bumper a number of times, and the gap is starting to close. Schneider and Schrey are starting to catch up to their RRV teammates. So you got to think that, earlier on I would say tuck up and make the run for it, but I feel like now at this point, perhaps Thomas Pache actually does need to make a move, even though this is still early. We still have the pit stop. We still have to get that right. We still have 51 minutes of racing to go. It's going to be tremendous, but we still have a need to maybe take the short gains while they can. Martin Lauer is holding up, I think, just a little bit. Malte Rade and Travis Wallace is now on the back of them. They have created a fair gap back to Darcy Parkinson. Brunier is slipping back. He's dropped back to 11th. We didn't see what happened there to the OVR racer. A guy who maybe the casters jinxed here, because I was talking about how well he had done at the start there, coming up from 16th all the way to 7th, and now slipping back a little bit. He's back into 11th position. Still doing very well. Still keeping it up, and still very much on the back of this fight for 8th place with Darcy Parkinson, Grant Patolo, and Thomas Nuse. Gerardo Del Valle in the background there as well in 12th position for ESR. Thomas Nuse, he's got speed. Oh, contact! Nuse got a little bit into Grant Patolo there. I don't think it was too harsh, but a little bit of a slide. We'll see if Patolo can make a comeback against him here. Nuse is getting a little bit wide some of these turns. Maybe some tire struggles. A little bit of contact there, a little bit of loss of control by Grant Patolo, but he has been relegated to 10th place by Thomas Nuse, who's on a comeback. Nuse was a top 5 qualifier, I do believe, and then of course had a moment early on in the race that dropped him out of the top 10, but now he's definitely back into the top 10 and doing very, very well for RRV. The other RRV car that we were keeping an eye on, by the way, Thomas Binder, has slipped back to 21st position. He's had a moment, it would appear, during the race. We continue on. The gap is now up to about 1 minute and 2 seconds. The man at the back of the pack is Jake Sorak of RLM Racing. Kind of confusing as he's put RLM in his name, so the initials are appearing there as Redline Racing, as opposed to anything to do with the Sorak name. Actually, there's another RRV car that I've been completely ignoring up until this point. That's Leon Becker back in 24th place. It's actually, apologies to Thomas Binder. He is not the anchor of his community here on this particular day. Meanwhile, at the front, speaking of the community, though, it is still Page on pace. Patrick Page leading Thomas Page. Thomas Page seems like the faster car, but he cannot get around, and it's definitely hurting him because you can see the gaps now. 1.1 seconds back to Schneider, who's definitely in there. Schrey's at 1.6 seconds back. 3.2 seconds back, Martin Lauer. Radke's in the mix at 4.1. Travis Wallace is in the mix at 4.2 or 5.3. So there is definitely some things going on here. The top 7 are still, I think, very, very, very close together, and I think very much in this hunt. Lauer kind of running on his own now. He's kind of lost the back of Schrey. I mean, now the top 4 are separated by less than a second. This is going to be amazing. We ride on board, or we ride with Malte Schneider, the current third place man. He's been in a race-long fight with Frank Schrey. I mean, I say race-long, we're only approaching about the 1/4 mark of this race, but it's been a fantastic race over. Off the track, one of the paces off the track. Patrick Pace is dropping back. He's gone off the track, and that's going to give Thomas Pace the lead. He's going to lead from Schneider is through, Lauer is through, Schrey is through, Radke is through, Wallace is through, Partridge, Nuse, Patolo, Brunier, Dalvale is through. The Albanian driver, who I swear I cannot pronounce the name of, I apologize. Marco Di Mano, the leading RLL car, is through. Nashu is through. Pache has now rejoined the race in 15th, and just like that, you've gone from 1st to 15th, 29 seconds off of the lead. That is what I meant when I said that this race is very much up for grabs, and we could see an unexpected winner before it is done. It's not really about how fast you can go here, but how consistent you can keep it. In the meantime, it is now Pace leading from Schneider, Schrey, Lauer, and Radke. They're in a very close contested battle here, about 3.5 to 4 seconds separating the top 5, although Thomas Page is fairly safe at the front, having pressured Patrick Page into a mistake. Rounding off the top 10, we have Darcy Parkinson, Thomas Nuse, Grant Patolo, and Sebastian Brunier. Great race so far here at the Nordschleife. We continue here at the Nordschleife. We're approaching the 1/4 mark. It is still, well, I shouldn't say still because he only recently actually got to the front of the pack, but Thomas Page, who's been a factor in the front of the pack this whole race, is now at the front. I feel like he is the fastest man on track, putting a gap between him and Malte Schneider and Frank Schrey, who are currently in 2nd and 3rd place there, all representing the RVC. 4th place belongs to Martin Lauer of 0, and then rounding out the top 5, it is Malte Radbe of RVC as well. Then it is Travis Wallace of ESR, Travis Wallace of ESR and Darcy Parkinson of ESR, and then Thomas Nuse of RVC, Grant Patolo of ESR, and Sebastian Brunier rounding off the top 10, representing OVR. And speaking of which, we have a battle here between Brunier against Gerardo Del Valle of ESR, who's been running pretty consistently around that 11th through the 15th spot right now. And we're also going to be keeping an eye on if Patrick Page can make some ground up. He's losing ground to the leaders right now, but I do believe he's cleared back to 15th place ahead of Victor Berlin. By the way, Victor Berlin on a little bit of a charge as well. He was down at about 20th place not too long ago and is heading not for the front per se, but definitely through a respectable position of 16th place right now for the Swedish driver. We ride on board with the battle for second place between Malte Schneider, Frank Schrey, Martin Lauer, and Malte Rebbe. And if I'm getting anyone's name wrong, I do apologize. The battle continues, and in the meantime, at the front, Thomas Pache has gotten away to about a 2.8 second lead. Mind you, we saw a lead of over 3 seconds for Patrick Pache and Thomas Pache evaporate, and eventually the mistake was made by Patrick Pache. So this is far from over, and again, we have 44 minutes to go, plus some extra time to finish the last lap, and there is a pit stop, which of course could have major impact on the race, because there is a lot that can go wrong in a pit stop. The field is now about 1.5 minutes apart from first to 25th position. We ride on board with Martin Lauer, who is in 4th place, trying to get onto the podium at the expense of Frank Schrey at the moment, but he also has to worry about 5th place Malte Rebbe. Back at 6th, you can also see Travis Wallace in our picture. He's about 8.4 seconds off of the lead, about 4 seconds off of this battle for 2nd place. Or I guess the battle has become really more for 3rd place right now. It looks like Malte Schneider has gotten away a little bit. Lauer is down the inside of Frank Schrey. Can he make the move stick? They are on a great straightaway. Schrey does not have the toe. He needs to get in behind someone and get a toe. I think a little bit of drafting. Lauer is through. He is, and Malte Rebbe might be coming through as well on Schrey. I think Schrey made a mistake there on trying to defend the position. He gave up the draft he was getting off of Malte Schneider, the 2nd place car, and really let Martin Lauer have a great run down the straightaway there and take 3rd position. He is doing fantastic right now. Schrey back down to 4th ahead of Radby Wallace. Nuse has gotten past Darcy Parkinson into 7th place. He might be the danger man. We, of course, saw him running in the top 5 before he had a bit of a moment. And him along with Patrick Pache, I think, are the 2 guys who are kind of out of position right now as far as their pace would dictate. By the way, we also had a pass by Del Valle getting into the top 10 at the expense of Sebastian Brunier, who I apologize for giving the caster's curse to because he had such an early strength where he came up into the top 10 from around 16th on the grid. Had a fantastic start, and unfortunately, I think perhaps me bringing that up has led to him being a little bit jinxed from this point onwards, but he's still running in a very solid 11th place, about 20 seconds off the lead, 21 seconds off the lead. Pretty safe right now. He may come back at Del Valle throughout the course of this race. Keeping in mind the community leaders right now, the top man for RLM has switched hands. It is now Marco Domeno, who's running actually pretty quietly making his way through the grid. We really haven't seen him, but he's up to 13th position, having a pretty solid race in his own right as well. In the meantime, the battle continuing here between Frank Schrey, who was looking very, very solid and is now suddenly looking like a roast kebab in front of a dingo, being pressured hard by Malte Radby, who's had a very quiet race. He's not really done a lot in terms of aggressive moves, but you can see it's really paying off because he's in 5th position, doing very solid. Martin Lauer, in the meantime, looking to climb into 2nd place. He's putting the pressure onto Malte Schneider. Not much inroads on Thomas Pache. He's pulled it out to about 3.5 seconds now, 4 seconds now in the lead. I think that's the largest the lead has actually been throughout the course of this race. But plenty of time to go, 41 minutes to go. You got to consider tires, you got to consider fuel, you got to consider that pit stop. There is a lot of things that can go wrong yet for these drivers. I would not rule anyone out of contention yet, except for possibly Simeon Nasho, who is 11 minutes behind. Something has definitely happened to him. He is in the pit lane. Could it just be that he's in for an early pit stop? Let's have a look. Although, no, he has parked it. So Simeon Nasho, unfortunately for the ESR crew, is out of this race, and we may have another one. As I see, yes, indeed he is parked. That is the car of Leon Becker of RRVC. They are out of this race. We are down to 23 cars. Try to pick up the action here from the auto director. And then we got a great time here. Sebastian Brunier is fighting back and has retaken 10th place in a struggle of epic proportions against Gerardo Del Valle. Things are still going on here, and someone is off the track. I believe that's Grant Patolo who's gone off the track, and Brunier is going to inherit 9th place and Del Valle's back into the top 10. Grant Patolo has been relegated down to 11th position for ESR. In the meantime, Martin Lauer is still putting the pressure on Malte Schneider. Radby is putting the pressure on Frank Schrey. A bit of a moment there for Grant Patolo. Something may very much be wrong with the Audi of Grant Patolo, the Australian, as he is now trying to strike back against Gerardo Del Valle and Sebastian Brunier. By the way, just a big ups in general to the Australian drivers here, dealing with a tremendous time difference to show up for this race. Hats off to Grant Patolo in that regard. Pressure is still on here. Martin Lauer is trying to get the pressure onto the car of... who is that? Malte Schneider in 2nd place. By the way, I'm a little bit perplexed, actually, by Leon Becker. He doesn't appear to be losing the time like Simi Nasho is, despite the fact that they are both out of the race. It's a bit weird. And not moving. They appear to be done. But you can see the gap of Becker suggests that he's running nick and tuck with Jake Sorak, the 23rd place car. In the meantime, any updates? Victor Berlin is coming through the grid. He's up to 15th position. Congratulations to him. Thomas Binder's up to 17th. They may be on a little bit of a charge each. We ride with Frank Schrey, who's looking to make a comeback after losing his 3rd place. He's seen off the attempts by Malte Radby for 4th place. Now wants to go back on the offense on the outlier, the 0 car of Martin Lauer. One of just 2 0 cars on the track here today. Then Wesley Stokes down in 21st position, having a solid race, a solid outing by all accounts. Uneventful. I think you have to really appreciate the fact that this is an exceptionally difficult track, exceptionally difficult task to race this track for 1 hour and make very few major mistakes. I think hats off to the cars that we honestly have not seen and have just avoided any of the real carnage is something I think that needs to be applied. Lauer is under pressure here from Schrey, and there's a battle going on. So it's Sebastian Brunier in the blue and white OVR car. He is slipped down behind Gerardo Del Valle again, and Grant Patolo of ESR. So he may be bullied out of here, though, in the top 10. Let's stick with that battle, please. Do not go anywhere else. And it's getting very interesting because Marco Di Meno, who we were talking about earlier, he's been making great progress to the grid. He's up to 12th place now. He might get in on this along with... I'm going to give it a crack. Victor Jacoli, the Albanian driver from ESR, in 13th position there. You can see he might be in this mix as well. I think we're going to have a fantastic battle here. As in the meantime, Del Valle and Patolo have seemingly gotten away from this. Brunier, did he overcook the tires? Has he made a mistake? He's under pressure now from Marco Di Meno. And I think that's a very interesting place to be because Marco Di Meno has been having a very calm, collected race so far here today, just very quietly making his way up. We're going to ride on the back door here of Sebastian Brunier. By the way, silently, Thomas Page has climbed out to 9.5 seconds in the lead. It's looking really good for him right now. He just has to execute a clean pit stop and keep his nose clean, I think, from this point onwards, and he's probably got this. By the way, we appear to have lost another car. Jan Ruska is in the pits and is not seemingly moving. Let's have a quick look at that. Indeed, it looks like Jan Ruska of ESR has dropped out of this race. Let's go back to Sebastian Brunier, who is having a fantastic battle here with Marco Di Meno over 11th position. Looks like Victor Jacoli has dropped back considerably. He's about 2.5 to 3 seconds back now, probably out of this fight, at least for the moment. Brunier, he's going to want to charge back at the guys he's been fighting with pretty much this whole race. Grant Patolo has been one of those. Gerardo Del Valle, he's kind of lost the chance at Darcy Parkinson, I think, who's up the road now some 10 seconds there in 8th place. He'll need a mistake out of him, I think, at some point. In the meantime, there's still a good battle going on for the podium between Schneider, Lauer, and Schrey. Ratby is also still there. Just doesn't seem to have quite the guts to go for it. And I think Thomas Newsom, by the way, is also now putting Travis Wallace under pressure. Let's have a look at that fight. Travis Wallace is in 6th place, and we've been saying it pretty much this whole time. Thomas Newsom who went off the track and was definitely out of position. By the way, Jacoli's had a moment. He's dropped back to 22nd place. It looks like he's out of the race, so it looks like we've lost Victor Jacoli. Another guy I think we need to constantly be keeping an eye on, though, is Patrick Pash, who was the leader and is now up to 13th position after dropping down quite a bit ways. But his comeback has not been that great. Marco Domeno has been the charger through the field. Anyways, Wallace has lost his 6th place while I was babbling about that to Thomas Nuse. Thomas Nuse up into 6th position. Lauer is fighting with Rabe, and we also saw Schneider drop, or Frank Schrey drop back to quite a bit. So Schrey's had a moment and has dropped back to 5th position, and it's Lauer taking on Mate Rabi for the podium, and Rabi would like to be the 3rd guy on that podium for RVC, and it looks like he's got the job done now, but there is still 34 minutes to go. There is still a pit stop to go. We are down to 21 cars with the exits of Jan Ruska and Victor Jacoli. Things are still in pressure mode right now, and they are moving through the grid very slowly. Again, we talked about the endurance factor. We talked about the focus factor. We talked about the speed factor, and you got to look a little bit of luck in the. There's a little bit of luck involved in this as well, because you're seeing cars drop out. Marco Domeno is in the middle of trying to take the spot off of Sebastian Brunier. Let's see if he can do it. The continuation of this fight has been fantastic. And they, despite fighting, are now right up on the tail of Grant Patolo and Gerardo Del Valle. So this fight could very quickly become for 9th place, not just for 11th place. So go Brunier, go Domeno! A fantastic fight. Domeno has been maybe perhaps my driver of the race. We didn't see a lot of him, but he is up to 12th position. He's been pushing forward this whole time, just running kind of mistake-free and just and fighting his way through the grid. It's been a fantastic display to watch for the RLM. Oh, hard on the curbs goes Brunier. He is under immense pressure from Marco Domeno. Marco Domeno is trying to get through. He wants a shot at those ESR racers that he needs to get the OVR car. Sebastian Brunier out of the way first. A fantastic battle going on here. Martin Lauer still trying to make a comeback against Mate Rabi. Malte Rabi, by the way, having had a very quiet race up until this point, and is now suddenly in 3rd place. A fantastic race run from him. Thomas Nuse, good. Oh, Brunier spins it! Did he have a helping hand there, though, from Marco Domeno? And coming through is the former race leader, Patrick Pash. He is on a charge now up into 12th position. Marco Domeno is quickly dropping behind him. It looks like Marco Domeno giving the spot back, showing good sportsmanship. He definitely, I think, made contact with Sebastian Brunier. I didn't quite see it, but his reaction says that I think he thinks he did, and he has allowed Brunier back out in front of him. So this battle will continue, and I think the other thing interesting is now that Patrick Pash has cleared 2 cars that he doesn't have to deal with. Can he make the charge back into the top 10? Wesley Stokes, in the meantime, has overtaken someone as well. He is ahead of the Red Line Motorsports crew, and it's Victor Berlin has either had a moment or possibly made a pit stop. Don't know. It's kind of the weird thing is you got to kind of grasp, is it a pit stop or did they make a mistake? Because he's quite a bit back now, about 15 seconds off of Jake Sorek, who is the car that is in 20th place, with Alan Redline Motorsport and Simon Redline Motorsport directly ahead of him. In the meantime, the front, lonely. Thomas Pash still racing away at the front of the pack. He is, we'll ride on board with him for just a little bit. Give him a little bit of the spotlight that has been kind of denied him for what has been a superb race. He's now 15 seconds ahead of Malte Schneider, and very much running on his own. You got to feel that this race is in his hands. This is his. The world is all in his hands right now here at the Nordschleife. It's going to take a mistake from him, I think, to deny him a victory, because he's that far ahead right now. But we've seen them. We've lost a couple of cars already. We've lost 4 cars over the course of this race, and there's definitely a possibility of that happening. And keep your eyes open if you're further back. In the meantime, let's see if there's any particular battles going on right now. As we ride still with Thomas Pash. Great job. Now we ride with Martin Lauer, who's very much on the back of Matej Radby. He would love to make a comeback against him, as well as Malte Schneider, who's been running in second place for a good chunk of this race after Patrick Page's problems. As for Patrick Page, he is still behind Grant Patolo, still trying to make his way into the top 10 and quite a ways back. Marco Di Meno has taken Sebastian Brunier for 12th place as well. Martin Lauer is charging. Looks like we're going to ride a little bit with Gerardo Del Val and Grant Patolo. Patolo, who's had some moments in this race but has shown some proper speed, is up on the back of fellow ESR racer Gerardo Del Val for 9th position. This could be an interesting fight between the ESR crew. In the meantime, looking at anyone's comeback, not really anyone currently staging a massive charge through the field. Victor Berlin is still riding at the back of the pack. Jacoli is the one whose gap is inaccurate. He is currently sitting in the pit lane, not moving. He will finish this race in 22nd place. Grant Patolo still putting the pressure on. We're going to ride with Darcy Parkinson. By the way, we said Darcy Parkinson was kind of on his own for a while there, but he is now catching at a very solid rate the top ESR driver, Travis Wallace, for 7th place. So ESR on ESR battles here is Wallace, Parkinson, Deval, and Patolo are currently all fighting. Patrick Pash, still back in 11th place, has not managed to replicate the speed he had when he was at the front of the pack. That or Thomas Page is just that much faster than him. Thomas Page has been the man on the move this whole race, just absolutely the fastest guy on track. Martin Lauer looking to put the pressure on Malte Radby and Malte Schneider, the 2nd and 3rd place cars. He was ahead of Radby. Radby took the place off of him and has done a fantastic job just turning in a quiet, effective race, which has put him in 3rd place. Behind him is Frank Schrey, longtime holder of that 3rd place, has slipped back to 5th now. Then it is Thomas Nuse, who's had a great climb back through the field, coming back to 6th place, ahead of the ESR train we were talking about of Travis Wallace, Darcy Parkinson, Gerardo Del Val, Grant Patolo, and Patrick Pash, who has cut into lead for the first time in a little bit of a while there, but he is 50.2 seconds off of it. Then it is Marco Di Meno, Sebastian Brunier, Thomas Binder, Tex Rex, 15th place, Wesley Stokes, 16th place, followed by Simon and Alan Redline Motorsports, Jake Sorik, and Victor Berlin. We have lost another car, as we have lost the Tharok Redline Motorsports, another Redline Motorsport. That's the first Redline Motorsports car actually retired. We've lost 3 ESR cars, 1 RRV car as well, and they are dropping. We're down to 20 cars, and we have still almost half the race to go. We pick the action back up with Martin Lauer still trying to put the pressure on Malte Radby. And it looks like the pit stops have begun. Martin Lauer heading into the pits along with Malte Radby. 3rd and 4th place are in the pits. I believe we also had a pit stop from Thomas Pash, who was out there as well. Malte Schneider, I think, is also in the pits. Will everyone come in on this lap, or does anyone have the gumption, the guts, the fortitude to go further, to go one lap further? Because it will take a lot of balls to do that. And who is going to have a clean pit stop? Who can do it? We're running here with one of the Redline Motorsports crew, Jake Sorik, who's got a little bit of damage to the front car. He's had an incident at some point. He's racing against Victor Berlin. And let's see. We're waiting for these pit stops to clear up. We're waiting for the jumbo. My God, that pit lane is crowded. Martin Lauer is making his way out of the pit lane, but he's behind Pash and Schneider, but he has maybe dropped Rappy? Maybe? We'll see. He's still listed in 4th position. Oh, problems for Martin Lauer on the cold tires. He goes off the track, and that's going to allow Frank Schrey past him. Looks like he was behind Radby, and it was we were missing Pash's car. Had gotten out well ahead. Not a very good pit stop by Pash, though. I mean, he was up north of 10 seconds, and his lead has been shrunk back to 6.5 over Schneider. A couple other cars making their way out of the pits. A very jumble here as Del Val fighting with the other Pash, Patrick Pash. Not Thomas Pash, by the way, in the lead. Patrick Pash fighting now with Del Val and Patolo. It appears he has jumped them in the pits for 9th position. Do I see anyone else? It looks like they drastically improved off of the pit stops. Brunier has overtaken Marco Domeno in the pits, which, speaking of which, we go to Marco Domeno versus Sebastian Brunier, who are having a fantastic race down for 12th position. This has maybe been one of the battles of the race, to be honest, between these two men. It looks like Binder. Wesley Stokes looks like he maybe made up a couple of places up to 15th place ahead of Tex Rex, and then the Red Line crew, Victor Berlin, Jake Sorick. Looks like there are 2 cars that may be still in the pits that are ahead of Jake Sorick there. It's the Allen and Simon Redline Motorsports. I hope they are still running and just maybe made a mistake in the pits. Sorick has overtaken them both. They are still in the pits. Victor Berlin is still in the pits, I think. I'm not sure how to interpret some of what's being said here. There we go. A couple of guys coming through there. That's the ESR crew. That's Pash, Patolo, and Del Val. The battle for 9th position between the 2 ESR boys and RVCs. At one point, hope for the win. Patrick Pash down in 9th position. It looks like we still have 20 cars running. It doesn't look like anyone gambled and tried to go an extra lap, which I didn't really expect anyone to do. But you never know. Maybe someone was able to save that kind of fuel, but not the case at the time. Anyways, Thomas Pash still leading from Malte Schneider, Malte Radke, Frank Schrey, and unfortunately Martin Lauer's mistake after the pit stop has dropped him to 12th place. I thought he had a really good pit stop, but went off the track on the cold tires. Thomas Nuse, Travis Wallace, Darcy Parkinson, Grant Patolo, Gerardo Valval. Patrick Pash has made a mistake at some point and dropped back to 11th place, or he's just been passed. I don't know which. Marco Domeno has retaken Sebastian Brunier for 12th place. My money is that fight is not over. Others still running. You know, the man who may have won off of the pit stops, Victor Berlin, is up to 15th position. He was down in 20th or 21st position at the time of the pit stops, and we have lost 1 car. It is Allen Redline Motorsports appears to be out of the race. The South African driver appears to be our 6th dropout, and we're down to 19 cars on track. Either that or he's just taking a very, very long pit stop. Let's have a quick look. No, he is definitely, I think, out of the race. I think we can safely say that. Meanwhile, at the front, Malte Radby, not happy with 3rd place by the looks of it. He's going to put the pressure on Malte Schneider, who's had a very good race up in 2nd position. And you can see in the background it is Schrey and Lauer hanging off the back of that. And there, speaking of the RVC guys, is Patrick Pash trailing Grant Patolo and Gerardo Del Val. The edge of the top 10, 9th, 10th, and 11th place, and Del Val's taking advantage of a mistake there by Grant Patolo. He goes down the inside and takes 9th position. Solid work by the Mexican driver. We ride with Malte Radby, who's trying to put the pressure on Malte Schneider as well. In the meantime, in the background there, it looks like Frank Schrey maybe has lost a headlight at some point. Keep an eye on that. Does he have a little bit of damage, perhaps? And he definitely has lost that headlight. Martin Lauer, I doubt that'll play any role in the race. I don't think that'll have any aerodynamic effect or any grip effect on the car. Should be fine, but we'll find out as the race progresses. Lauer is still putting the pressure on. Then it is still, as I said, Thomas Nuse in 6th place, followed by 7th place. Travis Wallace, Darcy Parkinson, Gerardo Del Val, Grant Patolo, who has lost the spot. Or no, Doval had just gotten past him, pardon me. Doval is now running away from Patolo, so I think Patolo may have something legitimately perhaps wrong with the car. We ride with Multi-Radby on board the Dutchman's car as he looks to possibly put pressure on his German teammate and the hometown man Multi-Schneider, who is probably the crowd favorite right now here at the Nordschleife. Again, not a great pit stop by Thomas Page, but he's starting to stretch his legs again. So I think the lead car is relatively safe at this point in the race. Pressure continues here between Radby and Schneider for second position. A great fight going on there, and there are some great fights elsewhere on the track as well. We have a great fight going on between... well, we had one from Brunier and Demeno, but it appears that Demeno maybe has finally seen the Frenchman off at this point. Further down the grid, there is not a particularly large amount happening. We still have 19 cars running of the original 25 that started the race. We have lost 6 cars at this point in time, and we have 18 minutes 20 seconds to play, of course, and there will be some time left at the end for potentially completing the final lap. Radby still on the tail of Malte Schneider. This is probably the best fight we've got going on right now, and it's a fight for second place, which is incredibly important. Again, RRV has been the dominant faction here, the dominant community. They're in the top 4 positions. They've had another leader in Patrick Bosch, who's back in 11th place, trying to make a recovery ride. We also have Thomas Nuse, who's in 6th place, representing them, as well as Thomas Binder down in 14th position. And, of course, the unfortunately exited from this race, Leon Becker. But the pressure is on as the battle continues here between the two Maltes, Malte Schneider and Malte Radby, over second position. This has been the dominant faction and the dominant community, and there's a lot of bragging rights, I think, going on right now here as these 3 men, Frank Schrey, the third man in that order, are definitely, I think, threats for the podium. Martin Lauer appears to be a little bit off of them at this point, about 3 seconds behind this battle. Frank Schrey with a little bit of damage to the car. Will that be a thing? Is they go side, they're going in the straight line, and I think Radby maybe has made a mistake here by giving up the draft too early, the streamline, because I think he actually ended up losing ground there. As unfortunately, when you pull out from behind the car, you hit a wall of air that generally slows you down. You have to be, I think, very, very close to make that move work. And I just don't think Malte Radby actually had that on at the time. Not really any other battles going on now, as the grid is kind of settled into like these gaps of a couple of seconds anyways throughout the rest of the grid. Although, I mean, I guess, in fact, there are some gaps that we've almost a minute between the two Redline guys, Jake Sorak and Simon Redline Motorsports, running down to 18th and 19th position. Actually, we got a good fight going on here that I wasn't even really aware of. It's Thomas Binder fighting against Sebastian Brunier. Binder making a late charge through the grid as he takes 13th off of Brunner. And he'll set off after Marco Demeno, who's about 6 seconds up the pack. Does Thomas Binder, who seems to have a bit of a second wind here. He's also got a little bit of damage to the car. You can see there, headlight out, much like Frank Schrey, who we join up with now, running in 4th position, trying to sneak onto the podium, trying to get back to the podium that it looked like it was his for quite some time. But then he got relegated, made a little bit of a mistake, and had wound up in 5th place at the time. In the meantime, here's Thomas Binder, who is just absolutely left Brunier for dead. And he's also passed Gerardo Delvale, who must have gone off the track at some point, because he's dropped behind Marco Demeno and Patrick Pash, Grant Patolo. So we missed something involving Gerardo Delvale. Let's have a look at his car and see if perhaps we can divine any potential damage to the car. It just must have gone off the track. Doesn't look like there's any combat damage, as it were, affecting his car. So Thomas Binder continuing to charge to maybe get himself into a top 10 position. We'll see what Gerardo Davell can do in terms of a recovery from this point onwards. In the meantime, this battle for second place is far from over. It is Schneider versus Ratty versus Schrey. And these guys have been at the front, top 5 cars pretty much the whole day. Fantastic job in qualifying by the entire RRVC unit. And they have run near the front pretty much this entire race. And these three desperately want to be a podium. I mean, you got to feel for the one out of these guys who doesn't get that podium. Because I think at this point, their ability to challenge for the win, Thomas Page, I think is gone. And it looks like Wesley Stokes is off the track, either making a second pit stop, perhaps, or he is done. Let's have a quick peek there. Looks like a second pit stop for Wesley Stokes, actually. Interesting. Perhaps pitting for some damage. Maybe he did something wrong on the first pit stop, but that's going to cost him in a big way. He was running, looked like for probably a solid top 15 position in this race. In the meantime, this battle for second place continues. We ride with Frank Schrey as he puts the pressure on Malte Radby and Malte Schneider. Thomas Page still running away from it. I've been waiting to see some great pace out of Patrick Page. And I mean, he's climbed back to 10th place, and I don't want to downplay that. But I thought he would do better. I thought there was more of a surge in him, but it does seem like he was definitely holding Thomas Page up when they were fighting at the front of the pack. And his overall pace, despite the great qualifying, despite the pole position, maybe not delivering quite at that level here today in the race. Still got 13 minutes left. There's plenty of time. He's only about 4 seconds behind Grant Patolo. Was Vader right up on the back of Patolo, though, and has seemingly lost ground to the Australians. So there is that. In the meantime, Schrey lost the back end a little bit there. He is all over the back of Malte Radby, though. Fantastic driving by the German right now as he desperately wants to get on the podium. He would love to be the top German, I would think, at this track. This track that is a holy site for German motorsports. Martin Lauer is slowly eating to them into a little bit, and I think also a big danger for them might be the 6th place car of Thomas Nuse, who is catching up to them, still about 9 seconds behind this fight, but making some ground up. Travis Wallace seems to have seen off the ESR Inter-Community Challenge from Darcy Parkinson. By the way, Wesley Stokes back on the track after his second pit stop, albeit in 19th position, about 15 seconds behind Jake Sorek. This battle between the RVC guys to get on the podium absolutely continues, and there is definitely no quarter being taken between these community mates. Radby is on the attack against Schneider after having seen off the challenge of Frank Schrey, and Schneider is probably going to regret that he couldn't really make any hay while he was ahead. You feel like he might actually be the slowest car of these three, but he's managed to maintain a position in front of them the whole race. Like, he was in 3rd place early on, moved up to 2nd with Patrick Pash, had his moment, and has just absolutely held station since then. But he is under attack. Nerves of absolute steel by the 2nd place driver, Malte Schneider. Fantastic work. Great work. In the meantime, things continue at the front, continue between these guys. And I mean, it's the battle on the track for sure. There's not really a ton else happening right now. Although the comeback of Thomas Binder doesn't appear to be particularly over. He's making great moves into Marco Domeno, who's been one of my favorites personally. Gerardo Davell has moved into 13th place. I believe he has overtaken Sebastian Brunier, who must have had a problem. The Frenchman is down to 14th position. Fantastic early race for Sebastian Brunier, although perhaps couldn't deliver in the long run. He's running with his stablemate Victor Berlin now, down in 14th and 15th position ahead of Tex Rex of RLM, Simon Redline Motorsports, and Jake Sorick, and then Wesley Stokes are the guys still running at the moment. Still, the battle continues, absolutely nick and tuck between Schneider, Radby, and Trey. A fantastic fight between these three individuals in the Audi TT RS. Martin Lauer, despite their squabbling, he's not really making the inroads. For a while there, it looked like he was, but he seems to be stuck about 5 seconds out on this fight. Maybe making up some ground now. I would love to see him get in there. It'd be interesting to see this turn into a four-way fight, because when Lauer was racing with these three, we had some interesting moments, and it's kind of strayed since then. No one really wanted to make, I guess, the moment-ending move, but I think we're setting up for possibly some kind of last lap lunge here between these three cars, as we're getting really down with just 9.5 minutes left in the race, the 60-minute race. We've run 50.5 minutes at this point. Nerve-wracking minutes for all three of these drivers who have at no point been under no pressure. So you got to wonder what their plan is. They got to be thinking about something here towards the end. In the meantime, at the front, Thomas Pash running away with this. He had a bad pit stop. It looked like that could have maybe opened up the door, cut his lead to about 6 seconds, but he's sprinted back out to about 15 seconds in first place. Had a fantastic race. He's definitely been the driver of the day. Even if some cruel fate were to rob him of the victory here today, has had a fantastic outing. In the meantime, it looks like Radby has pulled out of the slipstream again. Is this a mistake? We saw it last time. It was a bit of a mistake. He could not carry the speed, could not make things work against Multi-Strider. Can he do it this time? Is he opening himself up to Frank Schrey, who can get the slipstream? Schrey flashing the headlights, trying to get into the head of the Dutchman. Radby still in third place, though. Looks like he held it much better this time, but again, couldn't make the move in the big straightaway. And the thing is, with these cars being equal, it's going to be hard to see someone making a move in that straightaway. We've seen it. Martin Lauer got the job done, but Martin Lauer got the job done assisted by over Frank Schrey, because Frank Schrey had given up and was trying to make a move on Multi-Strider and had given up the slipstream, and that's what allowed Lauer through. Unfortunately, Lauer making a mistake after the pit stops, but he is charging back now within 5 seconds of the battle for second place. So he may be in this fight yet. We'll have to ask Wesley Stokes after the race, by the way, what was the deal with the second pit stop. No one else has gone for the 2 pit stop strategy, and it definitely hasn't been the selection that has worked here today. In the meantime, this battle still continues on between the stablemates, the RRV guys, who have been absolutely the dominant faction here today. RRV GT, by the way, is the full initials of the community. Please check them out. The battle continues, though, for that second place between 3 of their members, Multi-Strider, Multi-Raddy, and Frank Schrey. Martin Lauer rounding off the top 5, followed by Thomas Nussi, and then Travis Wallace, Darcy Parkinson, Grant Patolo, and the one-time leader of this race, Patrick Pash. Then it is Marco Domeno, Thomas Binder, Gerardo Dalvel, Sebastian Brunier, Victor Berlin, Tex Rex, Simon Redline Motorsports, Jake Shorrock, and Wesley Stokes round off the 19 cars still running. There is a 4-minute, 10-second gap between first place and 19th place on this lap that is about 8.5 minutes long here with the Audi TT RS cars. Fantastic cars to drive. I highly recommend them. And pardon me while I get a beverage refreshment. This battle for second place, it feels, we haven't really had a lot of action for it, but it feels like action could be coming any second now. That's how close they are. That's how much, and the perception that I've been kind of left with is that Multi-Strider, or Schneider, who's in second place, is actually perhaps the slowest of these 3 cars. They just can't find a way past him. And Martin Lauer is really chopping into it now. It's down to 2.2 seconds. The 0 car may be in this fight by the end of the race. He has 5.5 minutes to get into this fight. Plus maybe a little bit with the last lap. hard to say. It's been amazing so far. Battle continuing here. It's been an amazing fight. Absolutely amazing. This fight for second place has been the most enjoyable thing I've had to shoutcast in a long time. Congratulations. I want to shake all three of these men's hands. They've had... It's been clean. It's been great. It's been... a little mistake could be a huge thing right now. They've done a fantastic job. And also hats off to Thomas Pash, who I think has run perhaps one of the races of the year, up in first place. 16, 17 seconds in the lead now. There's been no doubt that he is the master of Nordschleife here today. We still have 19 drivers running, and I applaud all 19 of those drivers, because it's not easy doing this. Still, this battle for second place is really what we got going here. Martin Lauer is really coming into play now. He's got it down to just 2.5 seconds behind. Oh, and he goes, and the caster's curse strikes Lauer. He goes into the barrier. Oh, he's still closing ground. He's not let it go. Fantastic driving by Martin Lauer. I think that needs to be shouted out right here and now. He's keeping it going despite rubbing the barrier. He wants that podium that he could have had. And oh, Schneider made a mistake. Schneider made a mistake coming into the straightaway. Here we go. Here we go. Can Multi-Rabbi make this work? He's carrying more speed. This is a high-speed section of the track. It's a key place for it to go off. Now the slowdown. This is, I think, where the advantage for Rabbi may end. I think Schneider can get himself back on par here. But can he make the move? He has to make the move now, you would think, with just 3.5 minutes left. His opportunities are running low. He's run such a great race. A little conservative, but very calm, very collected. And it's resulted in a third place. But does he want that second place? I think he has to. The flash of the headlights from Schneider. I don't know what he's flashing the headlights at, because he's the man under attack now. Multi-Rabbi, Multi-Schneider. Battle for second place here going on here at the Nordschleife. Can he get past? Oh. Frank Schrey is looking at these two men, and you got to wonder what's going through his head. A collision between them would put him into second place. It would be amazing. Will he make a move on Schneider? Will he make a move on Rabbi? Can he make a move? Rabbi's trying to make a move, trying to get the inside line. Can he do this? They go through the carousel. Just 2.5 minutes to go in this race. The opportunities for Rabbi, you got to think he may be kicking himself if he ends up in third place after not being able to take advantage of that off by Multi-Schneider. Oh my God. Things are getting really tense here in the late stages of this race. It's not over yet at the front of the pack. The rest of the pack, 5th through 19th place, have kind of settled and are not really in a fight, but 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is absolutely up for grabs between these three cars. And it's a lot of community bragging rights here. You know, top 4 all from the same community. Being on that podium is going to mean a lot to these guys. This is a historic track. These are guys who are grown up watching Nordschleife races, enjoying it, the myth, the mythological place that the green has to everyone in racing is amazing. And can Frank Schrey, who was running on a podium position for a long time, he's slipped back. He's now got a chance to get back past Rabbi. Schneider has gotten a little bit away, and it looks like he may be able to hang on to that second place. But Frank Schrey needs to have everything in there. The aggression, the scent in his nostrils of a potential podium. Can he get the job done? It's nerve-wracking just for me, and I'm just watching it. Pressure is absolutely on, though. Multi-Schneider has gotten away, and again, lost in all of this has been the great run of Thomas Pash to the win. The Finnish driver is up in front, 19 seconds to the good now. It's absolutely his race with less than a minute to go. Hopefully that Audi holds together, because he's got this. And the battle continues here between these three cars. I want to have a quick look at what Pash is doing at the front of the pack, though. A quick look at what he is doing. Is he close to the end of the lap? Will we get more time after this 30 seconds to settle this battle for second place. I kind of hope we do, because I think there could be some great things. He's heading down the straight. Will he be able to get to the cross finish line? But in the meantime, I'm going to keep riding with this battle. This battle for second place, which has been fantastic, absolutely epic, between Malte Schneider, Malte Rebbe, and Frank Schrey. And they are so close right now. Oh, it is ridiculously close right now. I do quickly want to shout out, it's been an RRV kind of day. RRVGT has been the dominant community, but I want to shout out the leaders of the other communities right now. Zero Racing's Martin Lauer, who's in 5th place. Travis Wallace of ESR, who's in 7th. And Marco Domeno of Redline Motorsports, who's in 11th. And I think a very unflattering 14th for Sebastian Brunier, the leader of OVR, who, in my opinion, had a fantastic race and delivered. It's going to be Pash, Schneider, Rabbi, Schrey, Lauer across the line. That is your top 5 as the slowdown comes on. Schrey couldn't get it done. What a heartbreaker. And we're gonna run through the remainder of this. It looks like everybody's done. We're riding with Marco Domeno, who's actually coming up on Patrick Pash. This might be interesting battle for 10th place right now. Domeno has had a very underrated race. I think one of the unsung heroes of this race. It's a fantastic day. He's shown some great sportsmanship when he had the contact with Brunier and let him in front. But it's going to fall short of Patrick Pash, who I wonder how satisfied with a 10th place Patrick Pash is. You know, had a great day. Thomas Binder, who maybe was one of the faster guys post pit stop, takes him 12th place ahead of Gerardo Del Val. Another unsung hero to me is this man, Sebastian Brunier, who had a great opening to the race. Had some struggles in the middle, dropped back towards the end. But an absolute applause for him for being an absolute fighter every inch of the way. 14th place, I think, is... he deserved better. But, I mean, who do you put him ahead of? Still, solid, great outing for him. And again, hats off to all the drivers who managed to finish this race. Victor Berlin is going to be in 15th place. He's got Tex Rex, Simon Redline Motorsports, Jake Sork, and Wesley Stokes are rounding off the field. Stokes, that second pit stop. He is actually catching up to Jake Sork, so we may have a showdown for 18th place as we get towards the end of this race. But Victor Berlin comes across the line in 15th place. I think he had a great day. He made up a lot of ground in the pit stops and really played that into something. Tex Rex for RLM. The Bosnian driver is going to take home 16th position. Heading right into the pits, it appears. We're going to have Simon Redline Motorsports, Jake Sork. I do want to see if Wesley Stokes can make a run here. He is catching Jake Sork. Doesn't have a lot of time to work with, but he's about 3 seconds behind. If he can put the pressure on Sork, can Sork crack? I mean, it's for 18th position, but I feel like both of these guys, Stokes with a bit of a problem there. He clipped the curb a little bit hard, and I think that might end what we were hoping for there. Tex Rex and Redline Motorsports probably have finished the race at this point. Wesley Stokes going to be bringing up the back end of this fight, unless he can make Jake Sork panic. But I kind of doubt it. We're heading towards the stadium section. This will be pretty much the end of the race and the battle for 18th position. A fantastic race, though. And it makes me wish I had been in it. It really does. This was a fantastic job by everyone involved. And everyone who finished this race did a fantastic job. Can't say anything else about it, to be honest. Excellent work. A little bit of contact there from Wesley Stokes. Oh, you heard my phone there. I'm sorry. Forgot to mute that. And, Wesley Stokes will cross the line, bringing up the back in 19th place, but definitely a man who deserves a round of applause as well. Fantastic race there. There you see the final results. Thomas Page from Mate Schneider, Mate Rabi, Frank Schrey, Martin Lauer, Thomas Nussi, Travis Wallace, Darcy Parkinson, Grant Patolo, and Patrick Pash making off the top 10. Shoutouts, though, to a great race from Marco Domeno and obviously Sebastian Brunier, despite the 11th and 14th place finishes. I think they deserve a very solid round of applause. We lost on the way Alex Redline Motorsport, Thoric Redline Motorsports, Victor Jacoli, Jan Ruska, Leon Becker, and Simeon Nashu. But a fantastic run altogether. And we will be continuing to have more global races, I do believe. I want to say we have 2 more planned. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but a fantastic race here today, and I hope everyone took a moment to enjoy it.